Hello and welcome to the 3,500 Miles Between Us podcast with your hosts, Jobie and Abigail.
Okay, well, we're live, and welcome to the first actual Jobie and Abigail together podcast. You've heard me twice already, but Abby, how's it going?
Hello, it's going all right. Yeah, I'm here in Halifax on a soggy day, and it actually feels really good to be doing this for real. How about you?
Yeah, we've talked about this. I think I was mostly the one bringing it up because Abby and I have talked for years on the phone every single day. We use like a walkie-talkie app called Voxer, and sometimes the conversations were like, I could hear this third voice saying, "You should record this. This is really interesting," and we'd be like, "This would be a good idea," and then it'd be like, "Nah," and I think. Well, I think for me anyway, it's like a fear of failure, or you just feel like an idiot. You're like, well, who are you? You know, is that what they call imposter syndrome? I don't know. It's like,
yeah. I mean, I think also not knowing what our motive. I think both of us tend to scrutinize our own motives for things, so you can easily talk your way out. Certainly, I can. By thinking, why am I doing this? What's my intention? What's my motive?
Yeah. And then I have this little voice that says, well, you're not interesting. Like, who wants to hear you? And who do you think you are? And I think mostly the critics that sit on the wall of my mind and throw stones at my ideas, and mostly my friends that actually want the best for me, but I make up in my mind that they're going to be laughing at me. And really, this podcast isn't just, you know, I don't know. So anyway, I guess to cut a long story short is I was like, screw this. I'm starting to do it.
Here and then we are.
Abigail, sounds that you're going through a lot in your life, right? And it definitely, you weren't picking up the scent for the first week. And I was like, oh, this is going to be like pushing a rock up a hill. And then 2 days ago, I get a message from Abby, and she's like, I'm starting to feel it. This feels exciting. So I'm like, all right, this is good now.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Which I think both of us, you know, I'm 46 and live in Halifax, Canada. How old are you?
Bloody ancient. 52.
52. We're siblings. You live on Vancouver Island. We connect over Voxer, and we face a lot. Between us, we've got 7 kids. I've got 3. Jobie's got 4. And we share a lot about our life situation, I suppose. And the both of us are small business owners. And both of us are facing massive decisions in our lives when it comes to reinvention and having to face those huge challenges kind of alone, really, of decision making about what to do with our futures. So we're in the classic reinvention of your midlife. Like, what's going on with you on your end?
Well, just to, you know, double down on that. I mean, I think that like the listeners who don't understand Canada, like Abigail, the reason we call the podcast 3,500 Miles Between Us is because we live approximately that distance apart. Like, Canada is one of the biggest countries in the world. So it would take me longer to get to Abigail by plane than it would to get back to England. So it's a massive expanse. Like, Abby, you're 4 hours ahead of me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is pretty wild that we live in the same country and there's a time difference.
Yeah.
Abby's usually knee deep in snow when we're having spring flowers come up. And I think that I was trying to remember the other day, I was talking to Tara, my wife, about when you and I because I've got there's 4 siblings, but you and I seem to have gotten a lot closer. And I can't remember when that started. Was it COVID?
Well, actually, it's the one good thing technology's given us is the apps and the way to connect without making phone calls. Like, I think that was a game changer, us being able to leave each other voice notes. There's no pressure to have to respond immediately. And we ended up doing these long, we could just be uninterrupted. And that's what I like about voice notes, actually, is that you can talk uninterrupted and then think about what that person said and respond. And I think that built momentum because we were able to just share what was going on in our lives. But I think COVID really did ramp things up.
Yeah, I mean, we were just trying to navigate as parents, and we were in the same country, so that our government was making decisions that other, if I talked to my sister in England, it was a different story over there. So I think we were together trying to navigate that crazy time. But yeah.
Which has continued to be crazy, because really what we're facing now, certainly what you're facing, is still the fallout from all of the decisions that were made and how it's impacted our economy.
Yeah.
We're still feeling the effects of that very much so. And so you as a small business owner, I mean, what's going on your end?
Yeah, so Abigail and I were talking on, you'll hear the word Voxer a lot. If we're going to get a sponsor on this podcast, I definitely think it should be Voxer. It's basically a walkie-talkie app
that no one else uses.
Yeah. I've used it for my company for like 10 years, and it's probably one of the biggest parts of why my company stays kind of like the culture. It's a walkie-talkie app where you can have multiple chats, different chat rooms, but it's voice activated, not texting, and you just press a button, talk into it, and then leave it, and the other person can listen to it when they want. So it's really good. So before we jumped on this podcast, I was saying to Abby, I barely slept last night. I don't want to get too, I mean, I own a renovation company in Vancouver that's, what is it now, 15 years old. And it's just our economy, like now we're in the middle of tariffs right now, and it just feels ever since COVID, it's been one thing after another. After COVID, we had massive interest rate hikes, and now this. And I just don't know how to navigate it. Cash flow is brutal. Clients are, I tell people, like, we're working twice as hard for half as much. Clients just don't have money. They're scared to spend their money. When the political arena is unrestful, they just pause, and it's like, let's wait until this storm's over. And all the while, I have to keep the lights on and keep my employees paid. And so it's getting to a point. Every time I'm in a storm, I always forget the last storm, and I think, it's never been as bad as this. And then people have to remind me, remember back then? It was pretty bad then.
You've had some very hairy times with your business.
Yeah, aged me. And we've gotten through them, but this one, again, feels really bad. And there's just this perfect storm of people. One person might say, we're going to wait till the summer to start our job. Another client might say, we're pulling out completely. And if you combine all those, then it's a massive blow. And so I'm in a position now where I just don't know which way to turn. I'm like, my company brand has been built to a place that it feels terrible to just throw that down the toilet and say, well, that's the end of it. Shut the doors. But also I have to keep people paid. So it's challenging. And I moved away from Vancouver where my company's based to the countryside because I had a massive mortgage, and I felt so exposed during COVID, that financially exposed with our mortgage. I was like, and I was really kind of inside. I was dying in Vancouver. It's such a busy city, and I'm just a country boy deep down. And we sold our house and bought a cheaper place, but 5 acres over on Vancouver Island, which is where I live, and managed to run my company. So I go back to Vancouver. My last podcast was when I was driving there. And it's kind of worked, but I don't know, not having my truck driving around town all the time, or I don't know. It's just hard to put my finger on why we're at the place we're at. And also find myself asking the universe, God, or whoever's out there, what's the next chapter of my life supposed to look like? Like, what's the, what, I'm reminded of biblical stories where people like Abraham, all these guys had massive decisions to make, and they would put God to the test, like, give me a sign, and I think people need that at times in their lives. Like, where do I go?
Yeah, you just need so much wisdom, and I'm facing that myself with a business decision where I'm dissolving a business, and every day I tend to put it out into the universe, asking for wisdom and not wanting to resist what is, not wanting to have that inner resistance of bullheaded, I'm going to keep this no matter what. I don't want to be defiant against what is essentially a gravitational pull in a different direction. And the decision needs, like a friend said to me the other week, big decisions make themselves. And this decision is so big that I have to trust that eventually it's going to present itself as very obvious. And that seems to be the case. That it's like, no, you've got to surrender and just let go and not hold on to this tightly and let it dissolve. And it's a moment in my life where many things are going to ashes, and I have to be cognizant that this is a season essentially of loss. And it's interesting that you build momentum through your life. Like, both of us are immigrants. I moved here 17 years ago. You moved here a lot longer than that. How long have you been in Canada? Since you were 20?
Well, I'm 52 and I left when I was 20,
So we came with suitcases, and really for immigrants, we've done incredibly well to get to where we are, where we're both small business owners. And we've kind of followed that path of becoming a success abroad and establishing ourselves. And now we're facing the possibility, certainly I am, of a season of loss. And it's pretty humbling to see that cycle where it's like, I'm not going to resist this because that's obviously where life's taking me. But you essentially you want just growth and growth and growth, and that just doesn't seem to be the story of people's life.
Yeah,
there seems to be that ebb and flow.
It's so easy to talk about the times of loss when you're in a time of abundance, but when you're actually in that moment where you can see it burning up,
it just sucks.
It's not fun.
It sucks.
It's terrible. Are we allowed to swear? Terrible. I think we are, right?
We should. It's inevitable.
Yeah. I think I have to toggle the thing over on the podcast. This is, I think as soon as you drop the F-bomb, then it's a different story.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay, here we go. It's fucking hard to go through a season of loss, and it sucks to see things go to ashes when you've worked so hard.
Yeah, it's like I was trying to like sleep last night and trying to just like, I was in and out of, because Abigail and I have, as you'll get to know us more, we're both really open to the arena of like meditation and all of that type of stuff. So I was trying to just I was like trying to let go, and I had these tastes, little moments of like, like if, God forbid, Little Star went bankrupt, I think it's my ego that has a hard time with that, because it would seem to me as to be a failure. You've been a failure,
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes me like, I feel like emotion come up in me when I talk about it. It's just like you've worked you're married. I mean, I've been married twice and there's more stories there, but actually 3 times. I'm on my 3rd.
Yeah, you're in your 3rd, right?
My plan is for life is to have, my plan for life is to have 5. So I've got 2 more to go. So stick with the podcast and cook it interesting. Cook it
Tara,
spicy.
don't listen to this podcast.
But when you go through that, it is this like, oh, I failed. I made this choice. I stood up and said, this is going to work, and it didn't work. And I'm having such a hard time with that. And like you say, like it's a time of things going to ashes. Like ashes is ashes, right? There's nothing left. There's no stump sitting up. It's like gone.
Yeah. But we have that belief growing up, because both of us, we were raised in a very religious family. I've always got in the back of my mind, certainly how we were raised is you give it all up and then it returns to you, and you didn't lose it after all. But sometimes the reality is, no, it actually does go to ashes. Just like when a marriage ends, there is no redemption. It's like loss. No matter which way you turn it, it's a loss. And this idea that you can pretend to surrender and just, I think because we grew up so superstitious, I used to play that trick in my life in the past so much, where I would pretend to sacrifice and surrender, but really I was expecting the whole thing to turn around and be okay. And life showed me.
Yeah, it's a funny trick of the mind.
Yeah, and that shows how superstitious in my opinion, our religious experience was, where it wasn't true, surrender to things that really have to die.
I mean, in one sense, it gave us a sense of hope, right? Because we would always be like, like I remember Dad dreaming like God's going to make us wealthy, or some people like feel that like they live on this kind of like mirage of a hope that God's given them. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many people, like Nolan thought he was going to get martyred by the time he was 20, and it was like, it almost gave him this recklessness, because he was like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to get martyred for my faith.
And how old is he now? 55?
Yeah, he's 55. It's
might have been better for everyone if he had gotten martyred, but anyway.
Yeah, you never know. He might be listening, Abby. He'll come after you.
Well, he wanted it.
I know, but you kind of had these like.
I mean, he's probably disappointed now.
These kind of like these mirages that kept you going, but man, looking back, it's almost embarrassing. Because like, I'm flip flopping here, but like yesterday, I was just kind of like, there is a place. Like I read this book by Michael Singer called The Surrender Project, and it's a amazing book, and I'm not a reader at all, but this book really changed my life, especially when it comes to dealing with stress. And the premise of the book is basically surrender to the unfolding of life as it presents itself, and when it presents itself, walk forward into it. And sometimes what it presents itself how it presents itself is not something that you will have planned yourself. So it can be different than what you imagined. But but walk through anyway. I mean, you're not an idiot, but if a running chainsaw presents itself, you don't go and jump on it, I mean, it's like,
right.
I was just thinking, like there is a point where you have to put action, right? Like you can't just, well, my company's really struggling, so I'm going to sit in this room and meditate for 5 days. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe you get an answer, but there's this like balance between you're going to have to actually make some decisions. Like you're going to have to trim some fat. You're going to have to, change, because there is a very real, tangible, like you owe this much. And this is so it's like this weird dance with the mystical and with the physical, like with the practical.
Your back's against the wall.
And I find it hard it's almost easier to just lean on the mystical.
Yeah.
If your company started to go belly up, you say, well, it's what God intended. It's what God planned. And that's kind of a cop-out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I mean, I think also, so our background being very, very religious, it's easy to have that fatalistic idea about how things are pan out, and the reality is life is unbelievably challenging. Could we have ever anticipated just how hard life is? It's the amount of things that we've had to face. And I just think back now about all of us start out naive, and we need that naivety in order to just launch ourselves out into the world. But it's surprising to me how many people are facing insurmountable burdens of difficulty at this stage of life, at midlife, and how very complex it all is. It's just not. Yeah, it's very different from what we were led to believe life would be like.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to this Modern Wisdom podcast, and if you haven't listened to that podcast, it's fantastic. Who would have thought a man from Love Island would actually be an intellectual?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
But he's brilliant. Yeah, but this woman was on there, and she was saying, I can't remember exactly how she's saying it, but she's a therapist. And she says, people come to me and they're like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed. And she kind of gives them a bit of reprieve. She's like, no, you're not, it's not overwhelmed. You're actually you're in a goldfish bowl that is so, like, your world, you have more opportunity, like, how to put this, just with social media, like, you're pulled in so many directions more than ever before in history. Like, you have to be the perfect mom, the perfect dad, perfect shape, be in the perfect shape, best diet, best business owner. You got to do it all. And no wonder we feel like life is hard, because the bar has been set so bloody high that we're comparing ourselves to gods in each of their different fields, and we're feeling like, I failed.
Yeah.
And I think that it was nice to hear. She's like, she kind of let people off the hook. She's like, take a breath, take for a minute, like, just stop. Like, it's not you, it's the world that we're in right now. It's not, you're not designed for this. I know in my life, like, I've got all these balls in the air, right? Like, I got to pay my mortgage. I got to keep my employees happy. Oh, this customer's really unhappy. I've got, and I know when I felt real peace and happiness is when there's only one thing to do, and that's survive. Like, when COVID first happened, I felt excited. I remember I was like, now this is something to live for. This is like, now it's like life and death. It's like all the other shit is gone.
Bring it on.
And no one cares about it either. It's like we're in a war, and then that soon changed. Yeah. But I've worked, in third world type conditions, and it's just one thing, like, hunt for your food, get food on the table, and get shelter. And I absolutely felt like light, happy, smiling, joking. And I've had people who knew me and then kind of knew me again in those situations, and like, well, how come you're so happy in this situation? It's like everything could go wrong and we could die out here. I'm like, this is what I was made for.
You're in your element.
And I think it was the simplicity of it. It was like, it's like, yeah. Sorry to cut. I mean, I was on the roof the other day I'm doing a massive reno on my house. It's been overwhelming. It's a year-long project, as well as doing everything else. And I was feeling like a mental case, like my head was going, like, I was doing the work that I was supposed to be doing, but I was also, I should be down here. I should be on the phone talking to this person. I should be doing it. Oh, what about that? And looking at my farm and thinking like everything's getting away on me. Like, it feels like I've got a whole bunch of balls at the top of a hill, and they've all been let go at the same time, and I can't stop them all. And I know what the key is. The key is to do exactly what's in front of you right now, and the rest can just go to hell. But when I'm in that moment, I don't know how to pull it back. It just feels like craziness takes over me. And I know what I should do is probably just sit down up there on the scaffold and have a minute meditation, and it would all start to make sense to me. But it's like playing whack-a-mole all the fucking time. It's like, keep that one down. Yeah. The house has got to be clean. I know you're like this, Abby. It's like, do all the things, And you know in your head it's all bullshit. Like the house is gonna be messy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'll
but
never
it's
arrive.
exhausting.
But I think what's interesting with you is you have the contrast, and this is what I wanted to ask you about. You have the contrast of knowing big periods of your life where you've stepped out of regular society and experienced that off the grid life. And it's almost a torment in some ways because you know, like you said, how much happier you are in these more primal environments where none of this shit matters. And so I wanted to ask you about how that began, because, you know, that impressionable experience down in Venezuela where you were a teenager and you went and it's almost like you've never recovered from that experience in as much it made such a massive impact in your life going there and going into the jungle and living in a tribe.
Well, I'm looking at the time here, so it feels like we should wrap this little blurb up and move this on to another podcast. Entice people along. We're going to wrap this one up, guys, and then if you tune into the next podcast, we're going to talk about some juicy third world craziness, near-death experiences and all that. All right. Chat with you soon.